among all the groups. In terms of the reform in the education sector, we have also seen a movement towards starting to think about the consolidation of the school network to better address the demographic changes that have happened over the last 20 years, but also then funding reform that will follow students rather than necessarily only teachers. In pension area, we have seen some increase in the social security contributions that the financing contributory pensions. In public procurement, we also know that transparency improvements, the e-procurement, in fact, that we have established, allowed us also to run some of the analysis of the corruption risk in the public procurement sector. And last but not the least, even in the agricultural area, which we are also looking at in this report, we have seen movements towards decoupling the subsidies, moving away from low value-added crops like tobacco in particular, towards also improvement of the rural level. And we are now talking about 4.4% of GDP in overdue but unpaid liabilities that have been accumulated at all levels of the government and its institutions. And we also see a sizable debt of state-owned enterprises. So, in addition to the higher level of public debt that is now within years above 60% of GDP, we also see a long-term sustainability issue. This has, of course, a cost element to it. The level of debt also has higher debt servicing costs. And if you look at the other chart on interest payments, you could see that we're already allocating over 1% of GDP more for paying interests on this debt than it was the case in 2009. That expenditure growth continues to outpace revenues, although there was an effort to collect more and to, in fact, this is a proxy for the government size. At the level of 41% of GDP, Macedonia is in the group of countries which have moderately high government sector, government size. We also see that there is a very low productivity in the public administration. The gap towards the labor productivity in the private sector is 1/3, so 34% productivity gap, which is quite high. So you really need to demand more from the public administration.